You are welcome once again on our online versus Vidyalaya classes. I am Mr. Santosh Lodha here, your economics teacher. So let's start. If you remember in the last topic, I mean to say in the last lecture, in the last video, I have discussed about India on the eve of independence. And we have completed till foreign trade. That is, we have already completed India on the eve of independence, the colonialism, and then agricultural sector, the backward economy, the industrial sector, and foreign trade. So today we are going to discuss with demographic conditions of our India, and further few more parts are there, but almost we are going to complete today this chapter. Let's start. So what was the condition of our India on the eve of independence? Especially if we are talking about the demographic conditions. What was the demographic conditions of our India on the eve of independence? First of all, you should know, students, that what is the meaning of demographic conditions. Demographic refers to the study of various aspects of population such as age, sex, and then education level. If we talk about like income level and this one, what is that? Mortality rate, health, etc. All these things we are going to discuss in the demographic conditions. So what was this situation? I mean, so all this criteria. First of all, on the eve of independence, we'll discuss about the birth rate and death rate. What is the meaning of birth rate and death rate? I think you might be knowing about the birth rate and death rate situations. So at that time, high birth rate was there, and even death rate was also high. That means you can imagine that our death rate, if death rate is high, that means medication was not at all good. And high birth rate, that means there was no, we can say, no control over the birth. So obviously the population was high. Now, second thing, if we talk about the low literacy level, yes, of course, at that time, on the eve of independence, our literacy level was very low. Almost only 6% of women, were literate, if you know. I forgot to tell you about the high birth rate and death rate. At present, if we talk about the high birth rate is there, but like I would say, death rate has declined just due to the medication. We are going to compare with the previous data and the latest data, and that I am going to tell you in the further video. Now let's discuss all the points at the eve of independence. Low literacy level was there, that is almost only 6% of the literacy rate was there, I mean, especially about women. And next point, that is infant mortality rate. What is meaning of infant mortality rate? From the word itself, infant, you might have understood, that is child. A child before completing its age, that is of 1 year, if he or she dies, we can call it as infant mortality rate. So at that time, among 1,000, out of 1,000, near about 216 children were dying per year. Out of 1,000, 216 children were dying per year. And now it is reduced to lot of, I will say approximately, I'll tell you only 64 at present, or 48. I'll tell you the data in the further video, exact data. Now let's discuss what about our low, I will say the life expectancy ratio on the eve of independence. It was very low, children. What do you mean by, first of all, life expectancy ratio? Whenever the person will get a birth, generally we calculate the life, that how many years he will live, approximately how many years he can live. Why? On the conditions of a country's situation, atmosphere, all the things, it will total it up. How we are calculating this? That particular year or the last year, the people, those who have died, what is the age? At what age they have died? If we total up all the people, I just like suppose 1,000 people died, and the age of each and every person, if we add, and then if we divide by 1,000, we will get average age. Average age at which the person died. That is called low life expectancy. At that time, it was very low. That means it is only 32 students. How much? Only 32. And today, if we talk about it, is 68, more than doubled. So life expectancy ratio was very low. You can imagine why it was, because medication was very low. There was no medical facilities, no hospitals, no clinics, nothing was there. No, even we can say nutrients, no nutrition food was provided to the people, and no government help was given to the poor people. And as you know, poverty was more at that time. Anyhow, now we'll discuss about the next point after the low life expectancy. Next is poor health facilities. What we want for health facilities, Like we want hospitals, we want good doctors, we want medications, we want good medicals, and other, like I am to say, if we talk about water facilities, drinking water, many other facilities are there which we require to just to keep update our health. You know, nowadays due to the corona, we are unable to go outside. Why? Because we are taking care of our health. If we go out, obviously we can feel sick, or we can just get that particular virus, right? We can be attacked by that virus. We are taking precautions. But at that time, no precautions were taken by the government. Government was not at all helping. No enough, we can say, medication was there. No hospitals were there. No good doctors were there. People have to rush foreign countries if they have enough fund, otherwise they'll die without the medication. So that was our condition. Even if we talk about drinking water, there was no proper drinking water, no sanitation. All these drawbacks were there, due to which reason we can say poor health facility was there. Next point is high level of poverty. Obviously, people were very poor at that time. We have already discussed in our industrial sector, agriculture sector, that people were losing their job, people were out of job, people were unemployed, and suppose if unemployment is prevailing, what will happen? People are unable to earn more. People are unable to earn their basic livelihood also. So what will happen? They just fell into poverty. So at that time, due to all those conditions, we can say the level of poverty was very high. High level of poverty. Now let's discuss the next point. Like I've already explained you about the demographic conditions. On all the points we have discussed in one by one. So now I'm going to discuss in detail that what is birth rate and what is death rate. For your betterment, I've just written in the board itself. You can see that high birth rate means what? That is number of children born per 1,000 in a year. Number of children born per 1,000 in a year. That is called birth rate generally. So that birth rate was very high, right, at the time of independence. And if we talk about death rate, that is number of people dying per 1,000 per year. Death rate means what? Number of people dying per 1,000 per year. That is called death rate. That was also very high. Generally, this type of conditions, whenever it is prevailing, we call a nation as a stagnant economy. What we call this type of economy is called stagnant economy, and you can see this particular stage is called as first stage of demographic conditions. So India was prevailing during the colonial period. India was prevailing through the first stage. And on the eve of independence, what was happening? Actually, we have already shifted to our second stage of demographic conditions. Generally, now, what is the meaning of second stage of demographic conditions? That is after 1921. Generally, 1921 is called as year of great divide. Why we call it as year of great divide? Because at that time, the scenario of demographic conditions were totally changed. Or we can say that economy was moving towards the developed economy. I'm to say developing economy, not developed, sorry. It was moving towards developing economy. That is, it started developing little bit. Now how? And what happened in the demographic condition? If we talk about the birth rate and death rate, at that time, like it has shifted to the second stage. The second stage, it means high birth rate. Birth rate was as usual. It was high only. There was no control in the birth rate. That means the number of children born per 1,000 in a year was increasing day by day. But if we talk about the death rate, we have just got a control over the death rate. Why? Because the medication facilities was improving. And this particular year, that is after 1921, this situation took place. And that's why after 1921, that is 1921 is called as year of great divide. That means before 1921, that was the first stage. And after 1921, we call it as a second stage of demographic conditions. Why? Once again, I'll tell you, because at that time, after 1921, birth rate was increasing, but death rate was decreasing day by day. And generally, this type of situation was prevailing at the time of independence. Generally, third stage means what, students? Third stage means birth rate and death rate, where both are decreasing. That is low birth rate as well as low death rate. That particular situation is now prevailing in our India, but not on the eve of independence. Okay, students? I've already explained you this thing now in detail. Now, let's discuss the second point in detail. Demographic condition, as I told you about the low literacy rate. So, what is the meaning of low literacy rate actually? The number of persons, actually, what is the meaning of literacy rate? Let's discuss first that. Number of persons, those who are 7, that is age of 7 or above age, has ability to read or write and also understand. Once again, I'll tell you, number of persons, those who are either 7 of age or more than 7, if they have the ability to read, write and understand at least any one language, we call that particular person as a literate person. We call such a type of thing as a literacy rate. So how many people are there at that time? That means, what is the literacy rate at that time? Obviously, as I said, it was low literacy rate. That means only 16% or less than 6%. 16% people were literate at that time on the eve of independence. And among that 16%, if we talk about, out of that 16%, if we talk about, only 7% of the ladies were literate. That is, only 7% of female were literate. Among 16%, only 7%. That means, if 16% will take it as low as like 16% is like 100 people. What is 16%? Say, for example, 16% is 100 people. Out of 100 people, only 7 female were educated, were literate. Is it clear, students? Understood? Now let's discuss the next point. So, the next point is high infant mortality rate. If you remember, I've already explained you that was the meaning of infant mortality. Let's discuss now in detail. Before the age of 1 year, per 1,000 live births annually. That means, before the age of 1 year, the children, those who are getting birth, if they live, if they continue living, then we call it as, like suppose if they die, then we call it as mortality rate, right? Infant mortality. What was that? At that time, that is before independence, or we can say during the colonial period, it was 218 per 1,000. That is before 1921. If you remember, in the when I was explaining the first point, I told you what is the great year of divide and why we call that year as a divide, right? So before 1921, this was the situation, and as I told you, now what is the situation? Let's discuss in the when I'm explaining further. At that time, I'll explain you what is that, right? Okay. Let's discuss the next point now. Let's discuss the further points. What was the situation of health facilities? As I just said, that at that time the health facility was very poor. Water and airborne diseases was prevailing at that time, and especially if we talk about before 1921, what was condition during the colonial period, the health facility was totally very, very, very poor. As I said, that there were no water facilities, no drinking facilities, no sanitation, etc., etc. Due to which reason, and even the water and airborne diseases were prevailing. It was prevailing at that time. You know, nowadays also corona, that is airborne disease, is prevailing. At that time also, not corona was there, but obviously different type of diseases was prevailing over here. Why? Because no medication, poor health facilities, no doctors, etc., etc. Okay, now let's discuss the next point. There is low life expectancy ratio. I already explained you what is the meaning of life expectancy and why it was low. And I told you that it was 32 years at that time. That is during colonial period, it was 32 years. That is before 1921, it was 32 years. But if we talk about the WHO latest report, I don't have the latest report, but our 2018 WHO report, which we will discuss, it was according to WHO, it is 68.8 years. Okay, students, you can just see difference in 1921. Like before 1920, it was 32 years, and now it is 68.8 years. Now, if we talk about the last point, high level of poverty. Why high level of poverty was prevailing? Because of the poor health facilities, because of the low life expectancy ratio. And if you remember, we have already discussed the agricultural sector, industrial sector was totally ruined by the Britishers. So what was that time situation? The per capita income. The per capita income, that means income per person. Obviously, how we are calculating the per capita income, I have already discussed you in the previous chapters and all. That is like the total population, I am to say the income earned by the total population divided by the number of people those who are earning income, will get the per capita income, that is per head. What is the per capita income? At that time it was very low, right, students? And standard of living was very, very, very low. People were not having good standard of living. And if we talk about these type things, I am to say this situation, we will compare these situations. Obviously, we can find out that what was the poverty at that time. So obviously, the poverty was a very high level, at a very high level. Okay, students? Now, let's discuss, students, that what was the condition of our, I would say, what was the occupational structure of our India at the time of independence. Occupational structure means people engaged in all the three sectors of our economy. And three sectors means primary sector, tertiary sector, secondary sector, etc. And you know what is primary sector: agriculture. Industrial sector is secondary sector, and tertiary sector is the service sector. So let's discuss what was the situation at that time. If we talk about the agriculture sector, it was predominance of agriculture sector. That means most of the people of our India, that is approximately 72.7% of the people, more than 72.7% of the people were engaged in agriculture sector. How many? 72. That is more than 72.77% of the people were engaged in agriculture sector. And actually, if so many people are engaged in such a type of sector, obviously the GDP or the income generated by such a type of sector. So the agriculture sector, that is 72.7%. 72.7% of the people were engaged in agriculture sector. So obviously the income generation from this sector should be more. That is more than 70%. But do you think that was the situation? No, not at all. The income generation by such a type of sector was very, very low. That means people were engaged in high level of people, so many people were engaged in agriculture sector, but the income generation by them was very low. That means we can say that there was not proper arrangement of the population. That is, like, people were just, like, you can say, disguised unemployment might be prevailing in agriculture sector at that time. Not even might be, but yes, of course, it was disguised unemployment. More people were engaged, but no productivity was seen in the agriculture sector. Now, if we talk about the second thing, that is unbalanced growth can be seen in Indian economy. What do we mean by unbalanced growth? If we talk about regional, if we talk about regional, that is like state-wise. Obviously, all the states are not equally developed. If we talk about like rural area or urban area, there was no proper growth in both the areas. If we talk about all the three sectors, you can see the primary sector, that is agriculture sector, most of the people were engaged in agriculture sector, and the main source of our Indian people was agriculture sector only. But industrial sector, only 10 to 11% of the people were engaged in agriculture, industrial sector, and the rest of the people were engaged in service sector. So you can see the situation that there was unbalanced growth was taking place. That is, if we talk about the regional balance, there was no regional balance. Like, all the states were not developed properly. And if we talk about rural areas, urban areas, that was also not properly developed. Somewhere we can say only urban areas were developed because most of the people were staying in our rural area, because agriculture sector, as I said, 72.77% of the people were engaged in agriculture sector. Then obviously most of the population of our India were living in village, that is, were living in rural area, and rural areas were not developed so much. So obviously the situation was not at all good at that time. Understood, students? Now let's discuss the next point. Now let's discuss about the infrastructure. What was the situation of our infrastructure at that time? Students, we know that our infrastructure condition was very poor at that time. But railways, roads, air and ports, airways and ports, right? And post and telegraph, that is communication system, everything was developed at that time. But only it was all for their own benefits. How? I'll tell you. First of all, railways. That first railway line was developed, that is introduced in between Thane to Mumbai, and that was in 1850. It was introduced just for the benefit of Britishers. They were just moving their goods from one place to another place. I mean to say from Thane to at least the port of Mumbai, etc. If we talk about air and ports, once again they have developed them, this air and ports only for their benefits. Now next thing, if we talk about the roads, the road were like it was very costly to construct the roadways. They were not having so much fund also, because as we already discussed, the fund were utilized only for their benefits, only for the administrative purpose or army purposes. But still, roads were built up, like little bit, whatever they have constructed roads, that was only to mobilize the army. As we have already discussed in the previous chapter, that at that time Second World War was also taking place, and the Britishers were involved in that. So like they were just using the roads, and they have constructed the road only to mobilize the army or to transport the raw materials till the port. That is, they were using the roads so that they can transport the raw materials from one place to till the ports or etc. Is it clear? The next thing, if we talk about the postal and telegram systems, that is like communication system was developed by the Britishers only to maintain the law and order. It had they incurred heavy cost at that time just to install this particular, to introduce this post and telegraph system. Electronic telegrams was introduced. Electric telegram was introduced at that time. Okay, students, understood? Now let's discuss the next point, that is what were the positive impact of all these infrastructure in our India. Obviously not at that time, but now what happened, let's discuss. As I said, that even though whatever Britishers that they have done, that was only for their benefit, but there were little positive impact due to whatever they have developed at that time. Now let's discuss one by one all the points. As I said just now, that railways were introduced in 1850, obviously for their benefit, but now if you see the railways worldwide, our Indian network of railways are famous. You know that it stands fourth in overall the world itself. So we can say due to the introduction of the railways was now it is a positive impact for our India. If they would not have developed at that time, we would not have developed now. What was the commercialization of agriculture? We know commercialization of agriculture was taking place only for their benefit. That is, they were just selling cash crops. They were forcing our farmers to grow cash crops. Okay, but this commercialization of agriculture, now it has turned a benefit for our farmers. Now farmers, they understood that how they can just instead of doing subsistence farming only for growing for themselves, they can just grow more and they can do commercializing, and they can sell the extra crops whatever they can, right? And they got a market for their agricultural crops. Now next point, if we talk about monetary system of exchange, obviously the money was introduced at that time only. Before and all, there was no money. We were just using the coins or metal coins or etc. stones, precious stone, etc. But money was introduced at that time, and this is like a great benefit for our India. Monetary system of exchange, it was introduced at that time only. The next, but the last but not the least, there is effective system of administration. The administration system, whichever is prevailing in our India nowadays, you can say it was totally introduced by the Britishers. Like if we talk about High Court, Supreme Court, etc., or many other things, wherever the system, administration system is prevailing, all the government offices, all nowadays is going on according to the whatever was launched at that time, what was introduced, what system was introduced the time of Britishers. Now also it is prevailing, but because it is very effective. It was very effective. Now also the same system we are following. That's all, students, for India on the eve of independence. I hope you might have understood the concept today thoroughly, and just go through the chapter once again, see the video again and again, and just cover up whatever worksheet I'll just put on. You just do that worksheet and give the answers. Now one important information, students, that whatever videos I'm uploading or Mr. Sohail Gajjar is uploading, you have to see both the videos. As I'll tell you, students, it is not a question of that I'm teaching in your class so you'll see only my videos, but here the courses are divided among both the teachers, and we are uploading the videos for all the sections. So please, students, watch the videos of Mr. Sohail Gajjar also, and hope you'll be in good health. Bye bye, students. Thank you.